Welcome back to the Crochet Corrado. So it's my friends over at yarnspirations.com. This is an introduction for our Panama crochet cruisers and anybody else interested in this particular technique. And what we're going to be doing today is the discovery of mochilas, and this is using the Wayuu concept. So what we're going to do today is cover this all in a series of chapters within today's video. So this is the Wayuu Crochet, and Wayuu is the name of the tribe that came up with this concept how many years ago, I'm not sure. So what it is, it's a combination of actually using your crochet hook in order to achieve it, but also you can use weaving techniques in order to do things for like the straps. So what this concept is that it's very tight, it is skilled. Now if you're down in the Caribbean, you may see these kind of bags, and you can see them between around $50 to up to $300 per unit. And once you see how this is done, you understand where that price is coming from. A lot of people say, oh my god, it's so expensive. This technique is not for the weak-hearted. This is for somebody that is really looking for that step above in crochet, for the absolute detail and the durability of a project like this. So this is not one of those projects you start this morning and then you'll finish by the end of the night. So this is one of those ones that require a time commitment. So this is a really great idea, and what you want to do is that you want to concentrate on the tension more than anything within this. So within this video what we're going to have is many different chapters on anything that is covered within this concept. So my particular mentor for this is Marianne Verloop, and she's an expert in that. So let's talk about her first. So Marianne Verloop is actually a YouTube tutorial host. I'm gonna put a link in the more information of this video for her for this, and she has so many great techniques for this, including the weaving techniques that you may find in the handles. So if you're really looking to go forward on this, I'm nearly touching the surface of something that is so amazing, and she spends the time and shows you how it's all done, and she really talks to you about the tips that you need to do in order to concentrate. So I did this particular sample just for the fun of it, and she actually saw that I did it because I tagged her, and she says, you're way too loose with that. I'm like, what is that about? And then once I got to understand this concept even more, it is all about the tension. So if you're looking to go a step further, Marianne Verloop is a great tutorial host, and you will be able to find her on YouTube right here. So let's move along. Let's talk about your yarn choices, because that's where it's gonna matter the most. So when I was in Bermuda, I picked up one of these bags from a vendor. Look how the thickness of this yarn. It is so extremely thin, and it's like, so some of us like it chunky. We are used to our Caron 1 pound. This particular concept requires you to have really thin yarn in order to work it. So this is a kind of a neat concept. So here in North America, I'd recommend the Peyton's Grace, and it is 100% mercerized cotton, has absolutely no stretch to it, which is what you need for this particular concept, and is the right thickness for you. So you're gonna notice on the ball band, it's recommending a 3.75 millimeter hook, or a US F5. You don't want a hook size that big. You want it much smaller. So you want a 2 millimeter, or this one says 1.9, but a 2 millimeter size hook or less. You don't want anything bigger than that, because the hook size makes a huge difference when it comes to this particular project. So let me show you a little bit about the hook size, because this hook size is what's gonna determine if you're gonna continue or not. So here's two samples. So I originally started off this way, and I tagged Marianne, and she said, you're way too loose, and she said it's just way too flexible, that it's not the right. See how flexible that is? It's just falling apart like a pizza pie. So it looks great, but it's not tight enough, and so I wasn't getting tight enough with my stitches, and I can kind of see that, because you can see in between a little bit of the color bleeding. You'll notice in Wayuu Crochet is that it's a lot more tight. So what I decided to do is that I put it down to the back burner, and I restarted, and this one here, look how much more tighter it is, and it's really quite shocking, and it can stand up on its own. Okay, so that's how much more tighter that it is. And so she says that when you're doing this, is that you really should not see any of these other colors that are in between. So if you're not tight enough, you ended up with stitches. So this was my test sample just to practice once again, and I've done this incorrectly, but you can also see that the stitches are bleeding the colors that are being carried through. So let's talk a little bit about the tension, because the tension all matters, and that's really the whole secret to this whole thing. So on this sample it's not tight enough, but what's gonna happen is that you are carrying all the yarn strands along with you. So you're not only crocheting with the main color that you're going to be using at the same time, but you're also gonna be carrying the other colors even when they're not in play. So you'll see that this whole blue round, there was no other colors that are involved, but it's still being carried under the stitch because it's providing the thickness and the durability of a project. So when you see it here and it's more tense and tight, you can see that it's being carried up underneath, and in behind the work you can see a little bit of it being carried in. But you want to control your tension, so you want to pull the strands tight when they are not in use. So for example, say I'm crocheting with this blue here and I'm about to switch to the red. If the red was like bulging out at the back, and a great example would be probably something like this. See how I got bulging colors coming out of the back because I'm not tight enough? If I don't pull that red before I start the red will then just pop out the back. So whenever you change a color, you want to just keep pulling on your yarn strands and make sure they're nice and tight so that they'll never fall out, because if they're bulging in the back, eventually they will probably bulge toward the front side, you know, after a little bit of use. So you want to keep the tension of your project really quite tight, and that's gonna be taking a bit of getting used to. So that's something that's that you are going to have to get used to. You will also notice that the way that we're crocheting, it looks slightly different than normal. So let's talk a little bit about that. So here are 3 projects, and their 2 is different from the 1. So I forgot that when I did the original samples is that I have to work in the back loop only. You always have to work in the back loop with this particular concept. So even though you can see that it's working the regular stitch here, you can kind of see this the stitch work just bulging a little bit out of there, and you can kind of see the color bleeding through. So I thought, okay, well maybe something's wrong with me. I'm gonna try again. And you will notice that the diamonds are kind of leaning off when they should be straight up. The difference is that you have to work in the back loop in order to keep patterns like this being vertical. So my friend Megan reminded me that I should be using the back loops only. So once I got that into my head and she reminded me of that, I had success, and you can see the diamond looks more straight, and also you don't see the color bleeding so much through here. So you'll notice in this particular concept is that when you follow it around, it's just following everything, but it looks like something is wrong right here. There's nothing wrong. It's a continuous round. So let's talk a little bit about being a continuous round, because that's what's gonna make a huge difference in the way that you're designing or the way that you're crocheting one of these. So these kind of projects here, when they're done as a mochila like this, they're done as a continuous round. So if you follow it from the center, it will be snailing out just like so. So you'll notice that when they change the color, because you're doing that, you're gonna have an obvious line that appears out of place, and then it's going around and etc. So you can see that the seam line is right through here. How you get away with not doing that is that if you look at this sample here, is that the seam line, I use a stitch marker in order to show me where I am going, and if you can kind of see it here in the blue, you see me that I came around, but next time it changed to red because I got past the seam line. So when you're on the side of something like this, if you keep the seam line in a section that never changes color, you will never notice that one of these, for example, do you see this red? It's building up on this side, so you'll notice that these diamonds are not actually on the same axis or like same level, is that they are being built gradually as you're going around and around in a circle. So when I continue this around all the way around, this 3 here will be sitting on top of here, and then I will start again. So if you keep the background the same color during the slip stitching, you can hide that a lot easier than you can is if you're doing something like this. And again, that's just a personal choice, but you can see that once they got beyond this moment here, that everything seemed to work out. So there's a way of looking at these diagrams. It's the easiest way to do one of these, and let's talk about that next. In today's project we are going to do a key card holder, and I have provided you a diagram. So what I did is that I took one of these where I knew my particular stitch counts in order to get the size of a credit card in order to do a key card, and that's how I figured out how many of these boxes to make. If you would like to make your own chart just like this is a tool online called a Bead Tool 4, and you can find that online if you would like to download that. It's a free pattern, and you can make your own one here and then just do a printout and you can follow it along. So what you're looking at here is the actual 2 sides of a project. So you're looking at, Let me just get my sample up. So what you're looking at here is that you're looking at the one side, and then if you continue it around you're looking at the sample once again. What colors you decide to make is completely up to you. So this particular sample you need 4 colors in order to do it. So let's take a closer look at this diagram and let's decipher it even more. So here's 2 printouts. So you have the front and the back, whatever you want to decide to call it. So you're gonna start off at a certain point and you're gonna put yourself a stitch marker when you're going to continue each round. So you're going to notice at a certain point these red are gonna run into each other. So what you're going to notice is that we talked about how they're not gonna line up properly on a seam line. So you will see, let's start off. So we're gonna just start off here with the red and we continue along. So you're just going across, but when you get back to the seam line what's gonna happen, see it matches just like you see here, but when you get back around to the seam line, because of where the seam line is, you will notice that it will never always be perfect here. It'll always be slightly shifted over. So that's something that you have to keep in mind, that when you go to look at it they won't both sides look like this. So the only way to get away with that, and this sample is not a great sample of it, is keeping the background color the same color so that you never have to worry about anything like this. So as you're following it along you're just going to start your particular project, and we're gonna do our starting chain, and then what we're going to do is that we're going to single crochet and we're gonna add in all these extra colors into the project as you're going to start your chain. So you do your chain, so you'll do 1 to 17 for your chain and then do it again 1 to 17, so you have your front and back, and so 1 to 17 is essentially gonna end up being a circle just like you have here. So there's 1 to 17 and 1 to 17. So it's just kind of an easy way to get it, or you can just say chain 34, whatever floats your boat. Both sides do not have to be the same color, so you can change out your colors anytime you wish, so you can have some fun with that if you wish as well. So once we get that, once we go to the second row, what's gonna happen is that we're gonna have 4 boxes of green, and then we're gonna change over to do 2 of this color, and then 2 and 1, 2, 1, and etc. So when you have a seam line like here you're gonna have 4 of the same color and then continuing again with another 4 before starting it again. So that's something that you just have to keep an eye on in order to get it to go. So when I for example finish at the end, say we're here and we're just going all the way across, when I get here, when I get onto this side I'm immediately starting up with the next one right here. So we immediately start to the green, and that's just kind of an easy way to keep that in going. So you will see that there's patterns like this available in the round like this, so they can be going in around like this. In my case we're kind of doing like a sock kind of formation where we're doing it in the round like this, and either way it's kind of an easy way to do it. And sometimes Marianne Verloop's, her stuff will only show you a piece of the pie because that's all you need to see, and it's a repeating of the pies all the way around. So that'd be kind of like how to read your own diagram. You can get your own graph paper and do that, or you can use that tool as I mentioned, Bead Tool 4, and it's a free downloadable online. So as we're carrying our colors we want to make sure that we put our colors into place. So we're gonna start immediately of our first chain here of 34, and then once we start this first solid line of the green, all of these colors need to be into this project as we go. So we're gonna add them in and we're gonna carry them underneath the stitch work, so when we go to crochet directly over them they're gonna be into position. It's harder to hold a project that is just starting versus something like this that you have a lot to hang on to. You will notice that in time you will get faster at it because there's more to hold. So just keep that in mind when you're working on this project. You'll find about halfway through that you'll get faster and faster with the techniques, but also there is a great way to be able to change out the colors even faster, because if all the yarn is coming from the same area it's harder to separate these. So it's all about positioning your balls, and let's talk a little bit about that. So I found this chair online through Knightsbridge Furniture. I believe they're out of the UK, and what I want to show you is that changing out the colors, when you have as many colors going into one project just as you see, when they all come from the same direction it's really hard to separate that out. So what I like to do for myself is that when I'm sitting in a chair and I'm right-handed, so if you're left everything will just be opposite. So your main color will be here, 3, 2, and 1. So what's happened is that I decide my main color. So in my case it would be blue. If you saw this here you see a lot of the blue here. So I would put the blue as my main color and I would put it directly behind me. So just off to the side here. I would then choose what is the next main color that will appear the most, and in this case they're kind of all equal to each other, so you choose the next color that would be the most. So in my case for my particular holder here the blue here is behind me, and then the red is in number 1 position because it's used the second most that I can see. And then what I want to do, like a clock, I want to put my second color here and then my third here. So what's gonna happen is that when you have all of these balls, and let's just use this other example and we'll pull this out of the way. So if you have all these balls, and let's just say the blue is behind me, if it's coming from a different spot, and I'll say the red is just in front of me, if the balls are sitting in a different spot, what happens is that it doesn't get tangled as easily, and you want to keep the tension to these balls. So if you want to put them in a bowl, you can. And when I need to change out colors, all I just need to do is run my hand through this strand, pick it up, and then bury the other 3 colors as I'm going. So if the balls are always in the same position, it just makes it a lot easier. So you want to position your balls in a way that it's not gonna get tangled as much. Sometimes they can get tangled. You can almost bury that into this work as well if you're nice and tight, and ball positioning is everything. So what I'm gonna do now is that we are going to get ourselves started on this small sample for the key card holder, and again this is a basic introduction to Wayuu Crochet, and this is something that you can consider as well. So let's get our balls all ready, and I'm gonna position my balls. So I got 4 colors. I'm gonna put the main color behind me, the second, which will be the red, in front of me, and then the other 2 like a clock, so that it's easier to get onto. So let me position that, and then we're gonna get started on our project next. So as we start this technique, you're going to notice in the diagram that I've eliminated out 2 of these rows here. So these out because I felt the key card holder was a little bit too long. So you're going to notice that these this gapping space will not exist in your particular sample, and I stopped in this single crochet round after the red had finished in this point. So you're going to notice that here, and that will shorten it up a little bit. Once we get all the way around and doing this, you're going to want to get a stitch marker that is a color that you can identify. So in this case I've decided to choose red. So just a piece of yarn is good enough, but if you'd like to use a stitch marker, that's completely up to you. Once we have all this done, is that you were just going to then just slip stitch the final 2 stitches and then sew the base shut, and then all you just can do with your lanyard is just kind of feed it through some of the yarn here right in the center, and then just pull it through and just let it rest on your lanyard like this. Okay, so you'll hold it and then you can access your key card from there. So I'm going to be using this beautiful blue that we have, and we're gonna get started on our next sample, and let's begin to do that next. So I got my Peyton's Grace. To be fully transparent, these kind of crochet hooks, the size of it really scares the hell out of me. I am not going to deny it, my friends, but this technique is really amazing, and once I get used to it, it's really a lot easier. So I'm used to really quite large hooks, so switching off to a small one could be a challenge for many of us. So we're just gonna start off with a slip knot, and we're gonna chain a total of 34 using the same color. So I'm not adding the other colors with it yet, but all I want to do is just chain. And when I go to chain, we just want to pull through. Okay, don't pull through excessively, leaving extra long big chains. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 31, 32, 33, and 34. So what you want to do at this point is that you want to loop around, but you want to make sure that this is not twisted in any way, and loop it around and put the first one onto the hook and pull through. Like that. So it's kind of delicate work, as I told you before in the introduction. The bigger the project, the easier it is to hold this, and less of these fixings will have to be done. So what you have here is a total of 34 chains, and just let that straggler fall towards the back. And then what we're going to do is that we're gonna start our first round, but we need to get all of our other colors into play first. With this particular technique, I always crochet like this, and you can always see me do it in every video I've ever done. With this technique, it requires you to be very tense with the hook, very tight. And with this particular concept, I'm never a fan of looping yarn around my finger twice, but in this case what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna loop it around my pinky once, just like that. And what I'm gonna do is that when I go to crochet, here's my thought process and how I do it, is that when you go to pull, see how I'm not allowing any yarn to come out into my hand? I've just now made my first loop. I have pulled the tension out of that in order to get it to be nice and tight. So if I'm pulling this and it's pulling more yarn from the yarn ball, it means I'm probably too loose. So I want to be able to focus on that. So now let's begin to go all the way around, and let's add in our other colors, and let's play with that idea next. So I have my 3 other colors that I want to play with here off to the side. I'm leaving them extra long at the end so I can use them to put my tails in. I am going to put my yarn around my finger, and when I go to do my very first stitch, I am not going to chain 1. I am immediately gonna just go into the back hump of the stitch, or of the chain itself, of the next one. And when I go to do that, I want to place the other yarn strands right on top of it, noticing that I'm not doing anything special other than I'm making sure that it's on top. And all I'm just going to do, and see, the yarn is just pulling the tension out. I'm not allowing any yarn to come from the ball, and then I'm just gonna loose up a little bit and then pulling it through. So I'm single crocheting with these 3 strands in the stitch itself. So I come immediately to the next one. It does get easier. So going in, leaving the stragglers down on top, yarning yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the final 2. And so a little bit of tension just came from the ball here, or a little bit more yarn came from the ball coming in, and you want to go up all the way around over top of these 3 strands, and you want to be nice and tight. The goal is on the front side of there. You should really not see those yarn peeking through. Now I'm not gonna torture you with watching me do 34 of these in a row. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna continue around. I'm just gonna take my time and get comfortable and just pulling it through. Now you're gonna see that there's a color bleed, so just pull up on the project. Okay, just pull these yarn strands nice and tight, and things should disappear on you. So just move on to the next stitch, and so on, and go all the way around for me, just doing this particular concept. Sometimes you can pull through a yarn strand you shouldn't have. Just let it go and try again. Okay, so go all the way around, and then we'll double check our counts and see how good you're going so far. So I just came all the way around, and I want to make sure now that this is not twisting in any weird way, and I want to make sure there is 34, which I've already done. So I want to follow the top line around and make sure that it's not twisting in any weird way, and getting these down. This is just the starting ones, and I'm just making sure that I am ready to go on your next one. So you will see that there is gonna be a slight difference of the height, and that's because it is a continuous round. And let's just pull that blue tighter. So what I want to do is that on this last stitch, just give it a little bit of slack and just slide the hook up underneath the last stitch, and I want you to place the stitch marker there. So every time you're all the way up around and you pass this final stitch, you want to make sure that you are moving the stitch marker up so that you can always see where you've stopped and started around. And eventually you'll just pull that out later. So I just use red just for the ease of it. So we're going to then, let's go to the diagram next, and then we're just gonna follow that diagram and make sure that this is not twisting in any weird way, and we're gonna continue that next. So in the diagram here, remember we have the front and the back side. So once you get to the end of 17, you're just gonna start again, so you don't need to necessarily print this twice. So we've already done the first round here, number 1. Okay, so it's a solid color, all colors were buried, and now we're gonna do 4, and I just try to keep it simple. So 4, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, and 4. So once you get to the end of this, then you'll start again another 4, and then you're on the back side then doing 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 4. So let's continue then into round number 2. So let's start our 4 blues here. So the 4th one we have to change at the end of the stitch. So we're just gonna go into the back loop. So if you're new to crochet and you have 2 there, that equals the stitch. You come into the first one that's closest to you, that's a front loop, and the other one is obviously a back loop. So coming into the first back loop, just diving right into the back, lay down the stragglers on top. Okay, keep the stitch marker out of the way so that you're not crocheting that into position, and you want to crochet the blue nice and tight over top of those other colors. So that was 1 of 4. I'm going to wrap that around my pinky just to keep the tension. Coming to the next one, number 2. Again, coming up over top and pulling it through. I'm not gonna claim that I'm an expert at this. I'm an entry-level person just like you, so it takes time to get used to this particular concept. Okay, so that was 3. And again, pulling these strands to make sure that they're nice and taut. So this is the 4th one. So watch what I do. So we gotta change colors. So we're gonna use the blue. This is the 4th. We're gonna drop the blue and then pick up the red. Picking up the red and finishing it. So when you have a loop like this, this is the top of the next stitch. So you have to change the color before you finish the stitch. So coming into the next 2, they'll be red. So coming into the back loop, pull through 2, and then come to the next one, pull through. Now you want to change the color back to blue for 2, so dropping the red, make sure you pull all the tension strands and switch back to blue. If that red, just like you see, has gotten a little too light, just pull on it and it will pull it back into position. So we want to do 2 blue, and again after the second blue. Now do you see what's wrong? There's no red there. So I've dropped my red in behind. I'm gonna leave this in this tutorial because this is the thing about this project. You got so much to look for on these kind of concepts, and maybe you get a better appreciation why a bag like this is worth so much more money than just a regular crochet blanket or a bag that you may find. So we want to do 2 blue, and then we're gonna switch to another color. So you could use red, you can do any colors that are in your hands. Let's just say I want to do purple, so I'm just putting up my hand leading to the purple, and it's only 1 color, so I'm just gonna finish this with purple. Sorry, it's only 1 stitch. Coming to the next one, just purple, but the color has to go immediately back to blue, so I cannot finish this stitch. Drop it and go back to blue and finish it. That's only 1 stitch of that color. So you don't necessarily want to have a lot in the project that it's only 1 stitch, because it's a lot of movement of your hands. Also, I noticed here that I think that I've split apply, so I'm going to pull back out, and I did split apply. Go in the back loop only and try again. Now technically I could edit all of these little minor things that I'm doing wrong out, but that's the whole point of a tutorial, is to show you what happens when you don't watch everything to some degree. Okay, so we cannot finish this. This is only gonna be 1 stitch of that. Switch back to blue to finish, and then keep pulling on those strands and making sure that they're all traveling together. So I got 2 blue. I remember the pattern in my head because I've already done it like several times, but coming through, and now we're gonna switch to 2 reds. So we're gonna drop that, go back to red. So red I considered to be my secondary color, so it's at the top of my, it's right directly in front of me, so it keeps the yarn strands separate. So 2 reds. So 1 and 2. Okay, so we're coming to the other side of that same chart. So I'm switching back to blue now and going to do 4 blues in order to complete 1 side of the graph. So 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4. So one side of the graph is now done. Now what you can notice is that sometimes when I'm refilling on all of them, sometimes there could be one that's just a little bit looser than the rest. So don't be afraid to just tug on one of them at a time just to pull the tension into that. So we're gonna start the back side of it, and so we're gonna start off with 4 blues just like we did the front side. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now the fourth one I want to switch to red to finish that one, and so we'll do 2 reds. We're back to blue. Now both sides can be a different color if you wish, so it doesn't have to be the same colors that in the order. Now I'm gonna switch to purple. So what I just did here is that I accidentally finished the purple. There's only one stitch, so I want to make sure I switch back to blue. And now I'm switching to 2 reds. So I'm not gonna take you through this whole project like this, because you can look at the diagram and just see the coloring working its way out. Now if my math is done right, the final 4 should be blue. If you were missing a stitch, throw in an extra stitch, honest to God. You've gotten this far, and if that's all you're off by, you're having a great day, and sometimes you just gotta fake it or make it, and that's definitely one of these projects. So they're gonna do the 4 blues. So 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one is the final stitch, and you can see the stitch markers there, so that I'm actually right, which I'm actually shocked about. Okay, so I'm gonna go there. I am not gonna include that stitch marker as one to go around. Just go around the strands that you're working with and finish it, and then just pull up on a little bit and just move that stitch marker up. So just pull it through that final stitch so you can see it again in the future. And that would be your first pass going all the way around. So is anybody scared yet? It's really not that hard. It's just time consuming, and you can like, you can't feel this on camera, but I'm telling you, it's a nice tense project in order for you to work with. So let's go back to the diagram and let's just quickly review, because honestly now you know how to change the stitches. It's just a matter of reading your graphs. So we've just finished pass number 2. So when we go to start the next one, there will be only 3 greens and then 2. So you'll see that they're shifted over. So a great way, now that we have this pattern established, you look at what's already there, and you will literally know that you'll have to put in a red one on top of this green one just before this one. So you're keeping an eye on there. So you got 2, 2, and then 3, 2, 2, and 3. So this will be the one side, and then once you get to the here, you just continue to go across, then again, and then you'll just move up onto the next row. So it's just a matter of keeping an eye on your counts, and you'll be able to see this. So for example, the next pass right here, so as you came across, you will notice that this red is sitting on top of this blue. So in this case it's green, but you'll see that it's sitting over, and then the next time that this green appears, it'll be sitting over top of the red, so it gives you an overview. So you'll notice that one side here will look a little bit more consistent than this side. This is normal, but again, this is tension. I'm not completely all the way tense, not like that project I already showed you. So this takes time, and I'm gonna just say that this is my example. Some of you are gonna say, well, you should have did it right and it should be absolutely perfect. Hogwash. I'm not gonna do it. The reason for it is that chances are you're gonna end up with a project that looks like this, and if you can get it to look like this, it'd be quite awesome. This here is done in a different technique. This here is not using the back loops only, and it's using 2 strands together instead of 1. And this one here is a lot bigger, but it can't be used for a key card, and it's a little bit too holder for a can holder. But you can see that when you do different things, you can have a great time doing it. So I'm gonna leave that for you, and I'm gonna bring this project here now back, and let's just finish this off together. And you can just put me on hold. Honestly, it takes me about 2 hours to do a project like this, maybe a little bit longer, in order to go all the way around. And once I'm about halfway through, I find myself just zipping across because I can hold on to it more, and that's just something that you can do. And on the Crochet Cruise, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing this one here, and you'll see that it gets pretty easily, it grows pretty quickly, and it's a little bit easier to follow than this. But I want to get you started with this kind of concept because your goal is to be able to read the diagram, which we've done, and then be able to follow it to change the color, which we've done, and together we'll do this here on the ship. So let's see you at the end of this tutorial. So eventually you're just gonna come all the way around. So you got lots of yarn strands, and you're gonna eventually come up to all the way to the top here. So what I'm recommending is that the final 2 stitches that you have here, when we go to do this, when you lie it flat, it should sit flat like this so that you can see the design. You don't want to fold it in a way that it doesn't make sense when you're wearing it on your lanyard if you choose to do this project. So what I'm recommending is that the final 2 stitches just go in as a slip stitch, so just going in, pull through and through, and the next one through and through. So that's how I would finish that. So what I would do is just trim your yarn, which I've already done, and I want to be able to hide in those yarn strands, and I will also want to sew in the bottom section here. So I want to sew along the bottom here so that my yarn strands are going to be sitting in. What you can do with these ones here, all these yarn strands, you can tie it in a knot if you wish, and when you do that you can just tie it in a knot and just leave it sitting on the inside of your bag. Am I being lazy? Well, maybe a little bit, but sometimes you just gotta cheat the system. And you can just leave it on the inside there. It pretty much won't be shown anyway. And just kind of tie it in a knot, and then just trim off the extra. So I'm gonna lay it flat, so that's kind of how I want the design to look when I'm wearing it. So it's straight out, and the other side will also look the same. So I don't want to get a weird angle to that. So I'm just gonna start my strand on the inside of the project, and I put a slip knot on the other side of this. And the reason why I did that is that I'm gonna feed the needle through that when I come back through. So I'm gonna just go through the project, and I'm gonna go through that loop, and then I'm gonna go to the other side. My goal is that all that extra yarn color that you see will be on the inside of the bag. So just tuck it on the inside, and then coming straight across. Just like that. So just go back and forth, just doing that, and then secure it into position once you're done. So I'm securing in the loose ends that are at the top, and you want to do them individually one by one. You don't want to do it as a group. And what you're going to do is just drag it in behind some stitch work. You don't gotta go too far with it. You're gonna notice it's really tight. This needle is actually almost too big for this particular concept here, and you're gonna pull it through. And the goal is to pull it back and forth in your project 3 times. And just kind of pull on it, make sure it's tight. You have to go through 3 different paths, so you can't go in exactly the same path you went, because it'll never lock. And then finally back in the other way. So you just want to keep doing that with all of your strands, and then you're good to go. And then once you go back and forth 3 times, you can safely trim it down to the project, and it's pretty good. So do that with all your strands. So now that I have all my strands going in, this is completely optional, it's not written on the pattern, but what you can do is you can almost determine what is your back side and what's your front side. It may not matter to you. So you can just go in the top of a stitch. You can just use 1 strand if you wish, and you can just go around at the perimeter with something like this as well. So you can just put 2 into the same stitch, skip 1, and then 2 into the next, and that'll provide a nice little border for you if you want to go that far. Again, your creativity, you can decide what works for you, and this is not for everybody. I'm not even going to deny that. Some people, this is a little bit too much detail for crochet. They just want to sit back and do granny squares, which there's nothing wrong with that at all, but some people like to be challenged as well, and this is a great opportunity to do so. So you can just put 2 single crochets every other stitch going all the way around, and then you can finalize this off if you would like to do that as well. So once you get these done, you're going to then come to the cruise ship, and we are going to give you a name badge just like you have here. So usually what we can do, some of the ships allow you to put in a hole into here. They'll just go to customer service and they'll put that hole in for you. Some of the ships do not allow you to do that. So I have 2 other patterns that are available for this key card holder using regular size yarn if you wish, if you don't want to use this particular technique. The reason why I like to make this pouch is that your name is clearly identifiable on these things. So you can see Daniel there, and you can see mine here, so for celebrity. So what I like to do is that when you go to get your food and beverages that you need to present this, you have to unclip it from your name tag here, and that is a real pain in the ass. So what we have here is that I have my key card here, and I can just slide it into the pouch. Nobody knows my name by doing that, other than I'm wearing my name tag, if that makes any sense to you. But the name tag never has our last name. We do have a location of where the people are from, but we never have the last name. Also, when you go off to the ports, you don't want to wear those. So what we have here, this is one of mine. I collect pins. Some people say that I'm a pin slut, which is fine. But what I like to do is that I like to clip everything together. So I will literally put my lanyard here, and I will just clip it through. So now that this is on, and then I will then put on my name badge here. Okay, so I never have to do this more than once, and I just put on my name badge, and therefore the key card holder is on the outside here. So when I have my key and I need access to it, I can just slip it in and out. It goes completely all the way in, so it should not fall out on you. And so when I'm wearing my name badge, you will never see that it's there, but because this rotates on its own, so if it does rotate around, at least you have something pretty to look at, and it's something that you made for yourself. So it's kind of a neat concept, and that's completely up to you, and we hope that you have a good one. So please enjoy, and we hope to see you on the cruise.